Joining us now is Democratic Senator Bob Menendez. He is the chairman of the Foreign Relations Committee. Senator, thanks so much for joining us, and forgive me if I have to interrupt our discussion to go live to the president. But I do want to ask you, because we keep hearing desperate pleas from Ukraine for the U.S. and for our allies to do more. And revoking trade status is another way, right, to put economic hurt on Russia. So why is this bill stuck in the Senate?
Well, Anna, it's presently challenged by some of our Republican colleagues who are insisting on amendments and or changes in provisions that really, for the most part, don't go to the heart of the question, but are necessary to deal with in order to get to 60 votes so we can just pass this by consent versus a prolonged process on the floor because time is of the essence. And I know that Leader Schumer is very much engaged. I just came from a meeting on some of these issues, and I think we will get there hopefully before the end of the week.
There is a sense of urgency, and this bill passed the House by a vote of 424 to 8. That was 2 weeks ago. Every day, innocent civilians are dying. Their cities are being demolished. Are you saying lawmakers are playing politics with this?
Well, I'm simply saying that provisions that are, in my view, extraneous to the core effort, which is what we're trying to do, to continue to create the economic noose around Putin's neck to become tighter and tighter, more consequential for his horrific actions in Ukraine to take place. And unfortunately, various of the elements being asked for here have nothing to do with that question. So, but it is the legislative process in the Senate. You know, hopefully some of my Republican colleagues would appear before you and try to explain it.
Who's holding it up?
Well, I'm not going to get into those elements of the negotiation because I want to see a deal succeed. But you know, we have several who have raised issues that, as I say, they're extraneous to the core issue.
And it's just Republicans who have issues, no Democrats?
You know, no, I don't know of any Democrat that has. We actually, if you remember, Anna, this was brought by the majority leader to the floor, asked unanimous consent last week. I joined with him in an effort to get unanimous consent. It was only Republicans who objected to that consent.
So you talk about wanting to put, you know, the economic stranglehold on Russia. We just reported that the ruble is almost back to its pre-war levels. If Russia's economy is recovering, what does that mean for Putin's war on Ukraine?
Well, listen, I think a temporary rise in the ruble isn't a permanent one. The Russian economy is going to go under severe contractions, and those contractions will ultimately be reflected in the value of the ruble. So whatever fluctuation may have taken place by the Russians trying to prop up the ruble cannot sustain the coming onslaught of sanctions which have a tail to it. You know, it's sanctions when they're first imposed, they have the beginnings of consequences, but as they permeate and deepen in the international order, they even have a more consequential actions. I know this as someone who has been the architect and author of a whole host of sanctions, and that the more as time goes by, the deeper the consequences. Putin understands that, which is why Lavrov is going to China and seeing China will help prop themselves out of the consequences that they.
I really value having you here because of your insight as the chair of the Senate Foreign Affairs or Foreign Relations Committee. You were at a classified briefing on Ukraine just yesterday. Without sharing classified information, what was your biggest takeaway?
My biggest takeaway is that the Biden administration has been fully committed to give the Ukrainians everything they can, that the Ukrainians can use expeditiously, use effectively in their battle against Russia and Putin. That nearly $2 billion in the year and a third that this administration has been in office has been supplied in lethal assistance to Ukraine. More is coming. We are also working internationally to get our allies to transfer equipment that the Ukrainians know how to use versus trying to sell them a new system in air defense systems that they would have to take months to learn. We're actually getting transfers of equipment by neighboring countries, for which we will have an obligation later on to deal with and replace. So there's a full court press to make sure that everything humanly possible to get the lethal assistance the Ukrainians need is in their hands, so they continue to take the battle to Putin.
Senator Bob Menendez, thank you very much for joining us. I appreciate your time and your insight.